Hi, today's topic is how do I become a better wife? My name is Paul Friedman. I founded the Marriage Foundation. And this is not a difficult topic for me to discuss, but you have to be very careful. You have to be very careful to not be affected and go, how dare he? Or what's he saying? This is the real deal. Look, I used to be a divorce mediator. I helped people get a divorce. And I was very successful. The way I did it was I was very clear. Divorce mediation, there's a lot of emotion that has to be set aside. And so I would use a whiteboard and I would help the couple see what they were faced with clearly. And then explain, how do we get the emotions out of this? And that's not a popular thing to do these days. For some reason, the psych community is talking about honoring your emotions. Well, there was a time when they said vent. There was a time when they said drum. There was a time when they said, don't worry about your kids. Get a divorce. It's fine. Well, they're learning as they go, a little bit at a time, but they're missing the whole point of marriage. Well, you want to be a better wife. So I'm going to help you understand at the most core level how to do that. Because obviously, if you want to be a better wife, what it's telling me is that there's something missing in your marriage. Maybe you see that your husband is starting to look at porn sites or dating sites, or maybe he's not paying enough attention to you, or maybe he came out and said, look, you're just not taking care of me. Maybe we should end our marriage. This happens. We see way too much of it at the Marriage Foundation. Now, let's begin with what does it mean to be a good wife? And let's go right to the first principle of marriage. The first principle of marriage, you might say, is I got married to be happier. So did my husband. My husband got married to be happier. Well, what does that tell you? That you should bake him a cake every day? That you should do a strip tease when he comes home? No. You got to ask yourself, what is it that my husband married me for? And I'm going to tell you now, most people don't know the answer to that, because I have a background in spiritual studies, and I'm not talking about religious studies, but in spiritual studies, I have an understanding that a lot of people don't have. I'm going to share this with you. In the deepest subconscious mind, your husband, because he's a man, is not able to connect to his own heart the way you do. And you know that's true. He doesn't see the children the way you see them. He doesn't understand suffering the way you understand it. He doesn't have a natural propensity towards compassion. These are heart qualities. In the male design, the gender design of the male, and it's not an absolute, it doesn't lend itself towards a heart connection. When a man wants a heart connection, he's got to really work at it. So he married you in order to feel that heart connection, that love. The true you is a soul, not a religious soul. You're just a soul. Just because the psych community doesn't acknowledge this doesn't mean it isn't true. You're a soul. You don't have a soul. You are one. You have a mind, you have psychology. You have a body, this physical form, but you are a soul. The soul's natural essence is pure, unadulterated, unconditional love. That's why your husband married you. He didn't know that, but that's why. You didn't know it either. So what happens? What happens is there's this, I've identified killers of marriages, and I put them in my books, both of them, and I'm writing another one too, but I put this in my books. It's part of the coursework that we have at the Marriage Foundation, where I've identified the 3 killers. And the biggest killer that you will find in every marriage that is unhappy is what I have coined overfamiliarity. What does that mean? Overfamiliarity means you don't treat each other respectfully. You take each other for granted because you're overfamiliar. So when you first meet, you're very conscious of what comes out of your mouth. You're very conscious of how you're dressing. You're very conscious of how you carry yourself. But then you slowly become familiar with one another and you start testing. And maybe you get angry. And when you first met, you would never expose that anger to him. Never. You would chase him away. You know what your anger looks like. So you would never expose him to that. But now, look how much anger. Not everybody, but most of you. You expose this anger. You yell. You scream. You throw tantrums. You nag. You harass. You put him down. You're critical. So the first thing you have to do, and it's just the right thing to do, it's just being polite, for gosh sake, is you stop pouring that toxicity into your marriage. You just stop it. And don't tell me it's his fault. Don't tell me it's because of this and because of that. You control your mind. You have free will. You have volition. You can choose. You can choose not to dump junk on your husband. So that's the first thing. And let me tell you, there is no balance. I've had women tell me, well, I cook for him. I take care of the kids. I make sure the house is neat. I'm earning money too. And he comes home and blah, blah, blah. And so I have to let it out. No, you don't. No, you don't. It's not polite. It's not nice. But worse, it undermines the love that should be reigning supreme in your marriage. And what I was saying before, there's no balance. You can't say, well, I do all these things here, and I only scream at him a little bit. That doesn't fly. I call that the Eclipse Effect. You have this huge sun, right? You have the same sun I have. We see it everywhere from this planet. But if you put up your hand, your tiny little hand, think of the size of your hand compared to the sun, you could block all of it. It's the same thing with our behaviors. You could have all of this love, but just a little bit of this negativity will block all of that love. So the first thing you have to do to become a better wife, just stop it. Now, sometimes it's very difficult to stop it. These are deeply ingrained habits. Hopefully you're coming to this video early enough before these habits completely own you. If not, you know, we have a course for women where I actually show you how to gain control over the emotions, the habits, and you redesign yourself. So take a look at that, my explanation for the course, if your marriage is like on the verge, or if you feel you need that. So, That's the first thing. Stop the toxicity. What's the next thing? The next thing is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. Look, you are a soul. You can't escape that reality, and this is not a religious thing. This is just the way it is. You're a soul, you have a body, you have a mind, but you are a soul. A couple of kids I'm very close to were in the car with me the other day, and my wife, and they're talking, and they said, do you know, Paul, that we only use less than 10% of our minds? And I said, well, what does that mean? And they said, well, it means that if we learn how to use our minds, we can fly. And I thought, they didn't learn that in school. I thought, that's pretty advanced logic. Yeah, you can fly. Can you imagine? Well, who is it, I asked, that only uses 10% of your mind? Well, me. Well, what are you? Who are you? I said, you're a soul. You're a soul. You have a mind. And you're only using 10%. Let's look at it that way. Truth is, you're probably using less. You've become so dependent upon your habits and your inner automatic reactions, your instinctive reactions. But what's a good use of your mind? And I'm talking to you, the soul. Good use of your mind is to align it with your self, your higher self, the soul. Because what is the soul? The soul is a piece of God. God created you in his image, her image. What is God? All love. God is love. God also has other attributes, wisdom, protection, but God is love. And if you've ever meditated, you know what I'm talking about. If you've ever prayed very deeply and then all of a sudden you feel, God's presence, it's always love. That is your true nature. So if you align your mind, which means your behaviors, with the qualities of who you really are, that's exactly what I was talking about in the beginning. Now you are giving your husband why he married you in the first place. You're giving him a glimpse into infinite, unconditional love. See, I'm not telling you to buy him flowers or text him more often or dress pretty or any of that stuff. Because if you do all those things, it's on the surface. However, if you do those things because you've tapped into your heart and your intuition, which is very deep for women, suggests to you, I should contact him now, text him and tell him I love him. That's cool. But if I say to you, text him, and you text him, it may not work because it's not sincere. It may just be surface, and his soul will pick up on that. It won't feel it. Because ultimately, what do you want? You want to have that soul connection. You got married to be happy. It is love that universally, always, 100% of the time, causes happiness. Money doesn't. Sex doesn't. Drugs and alcohol don't. Vacations don't. I'm talking about real happiness is only experienced by real love. Not the faked kind, but the real kind. So learn how to connect to your own soul, to be yourself, your true self. Control the mind. Learn how to express your inner self towards your husband. All the time, not just during intercourse, not just during conversations, but all the time. And he will go, wow, I married an angel. I married a saint. I have the best marriage ever. Isn't that what you want him to say? How fulfilling would that be to hear from his lips, I married the most amazing woman in the world. Wouldn't that be so beautiful? And you can achieve that. Okay. I hope you like this. I hope you'll share it, and I hope you'll subscribe. We're here for you at the Marriage Foundation. Our counselors, it's a free service. You could write in. They are not paid a commission. They're not told to push a book on you. They're not told to push a course on you. They're told to help you. We're a foundation. We're nonprofit. So we are here for you. And I'll pray for you. And prayers to your husband and prayers to your family. Thank you for stopping by. God bless.